Have you ever wanted to live in a castle?
Yep. Joshua's going to tell you about the time he visited one and the story of the person who lived there.
Uh-huh. Welcome to week 24 of Around the World with Joshua and Alyssa, and we have some exciting things for you today. We are going to start off by taking you to a place that I have been in, Slovenia. Now, Slovenia is a country in Europe. Before I had gone there, I didn't even know where it was.
Yeah, where is it?
It is just east of Italy.
Okay.
So if you follow Italy all the way up around the Adriatic Sea, then you'll get to Slovenia, which comes down the east side of the sea. So I'm going to show you one of the most beautiful places in the world that I have ever been, right in Slovenia. So in Slovenia, there is a gorge called Royal Gorge. And a gorge is like a canyon, basically. A canyon that a river runs through. And this gorge, as you can see, it looks like maybe any other wooded area you've been to, right? Lots of green, lots of trees, but as you get farther in, it just gets more and more beautiful. And I might think this just because green is my favorite color, and so there's a lot of shades of green here. But just follow along. So there's this path that they've built along the side of the gorge so that you can walk through and stay dry and stay clean. And look at the color of that water.
It's really clear too.
It's really, really clear, and it has like a bluish tint. Not like a dirty color. It's a clean color. And you go further in, and look at that water, how clear it is, and the colors that are coming up through it.
Is it cold?
Well, I didn't go down and touch it, but yes, I'm pretty sure it is cold.
Like air temperature when you were there, was it cold?
Oh, yes, it was cold. It was cold and rainy the day I was there. But I liked the cloudy skies because it made the colors just come out great. So here we go. We're crossing across the gorge as we get farther in, and you can see the water a little better, and then it just keeps getting better and better. The colors were fantastic. I was having so much fun with my camera. Look at the rock formation there too. It's sediment it's sideways at an angle, like it was pushed up. Kind of like what would happen maybe during a big flood or something. So that was pretty cool to see that. Here's some more of the water rushing through the gorge. There's another picture of it. And there's that water again, just more still. So beautiful. I could have stayed here for so long. The group I was with wanted to get on and see some other things too, but I would have been just happy if I just stayed in here the whole time. At the end of the walk, there's, well, no, this is only partway through, I guess. There's a small, this is like a man-made waterfall here with a nice bridge up on top. Then you get further in. A lot of the same pictures, just with the water and the green up on the sides, but it was so cool. Now here at the end is this big waterfall. And we started running out of time, so they didn't want to go all the way to the end. So I ran down to the end of the waterfall myself and then ran back and caught up with them on their way back. But it was pretty cool. There are, now down in Slovenia, there is this lake with this island in the middle. A very famous island. I didn't know about it at the time, but now I do. A lot of people like to get married there. We didn't pay to go out to the island, and for whatever reason I didn't put a picture in here of it because I could only get so close. But on that lake, there are these boats. These are the boats that will take you out to the island. And so they're pretty cool. There's this like abandoned building that I really wanted to go in, but they had a fence up around it. So I just took pictures from a distance. We also went and we saw a church there on the inside. But my favorite part, just a few minutes away, was the Royal Gorge. To me, nothing else we looked at could match the beauty of that place. So someday I do want to go back. It was a lot of fun, lots of great pictures. And when you ask me the most beautiful place I've ever been, that's pretty high up there, if not #1, until I go and find something better. So that is, I don't remember the exact name of the location in Slovenia, except that this is the Royal Gorge down there. I don't remember the name of the town or anything else.
Wow.
That
I guess
part's
you have
not
the
important.
to prove you were there.
Yeah.
Hey.
All right.
How about some more story?
Sure.
Okay, go get some snacks.
Okay.
So, our story last time, also had some water at the end of it. Remember, John was bringing some flour to one of his friends on the other side of the island, and they were out in the ocean, and their boat got tipped over. And what was the really bad thing about that? Right, John couldn't swim, so super dangerous. So the boat was flipped over, and he was hanging on to it and praying that God would just somehow save him or do something, or if not, he knew where he was going when he died. But somebody from shore saw John struggling and saw the overturned canoe and came out and helped pull him into shore. And John was so relieved once he got on shore, and then he remembered why they were in the boat in the first place, to bring the flour to his friend. And he turned around wildly and saw somebody, another one of the people, coming out of the water with the jug of flour on his head. God had even saved the flour for his friend, and it was all dry and safe inside the jug, so they were able to deliver it to his friend. And John was so thankful. God had protected him and provided just in the right amount of time. Well, by now it was dark, and John needed to get back to his home, because if he left his home for too long, people would come in and steal stuff, and he didn't want that to happen. So he told all the other people with him, he said, okay, we gotta go back, but let's go back across land, because it's night and everybody should be sleeping and there shouldn't be any fighting. But the other men with him were too scared. They still didn't want to go through the island at night, but John really wanted to get back, so he went back all by himself in the dark at night without all the right lighting supplies and everything to see. But he knew the way pretty well, and he knew that if he got along to just the right spot, he could climb up this big rock, and then as long as he navigated correctly, he'd be able to keep going on the path. So he kept going. He was kind of going a little slower than usual, and he grabbed onto some branches here and climbed up and thought he'd made it to the big rock, and then he realized something didn't feel quite right, and he looked around, he saw some villages, and he recognized one of the villages of the most notorious evil fighters of the whole island, and he was just like so close to where they were. But he knew that if he was on the right spot, that if he slid down the edge of the rock, he would land in some water. Now in high tide, it would be over his head, but in low tide, it would just be like up to his ankles or part of the way up his leg. Now, he definitely doesn't want it to be high tide because he can't swim. So he threw some rocks over the side, hoping to hear them splash into the water below, but he didn't hear a thing. He thought, okay, well, maybe I'll throw something else, and he had an umbrella with him, so he threw that over the side and still didn't hear anything. But he prayed and he asked God to protect him, and he sat down on the side of the rock and just slid down, hoping that he was in the right spot, and that if he got to the water, that it was hopefully going to be low tide. And what seemed like an eternity, he slid down, trying to watch out for all the branches and other rocks and stuff poking out from the sides. And finally, his feet hit water, but just his feet. And he was so thankful. Whew, he had found the right spot. He was still on his way, and he was mostly quiet, so hopefully he didn't disturb any of the people in the village. Well, he kept going, and eventually he did make it back to his home, and he was so glad that God had protected him and kept him safe, even through walking in the dark. Now, the two groups of people, I talked about them a little bit last week. They're the harbor people, the tribe that lived on the outside of the island, and then the inland people. And they were always kind of fighting and at odds with each other. And John was friends with one of the chiefs, with a chief named Enan. And he and Enan would talk a little bit, and as the warriors and the people of the island got more and more agitated, more upset, John was concerned for his safety, and his warrior friend was concerned for him as well. Well, one day he said, "John, you have to come with me right now. Right now." John didn't know what he was going into. He didn't know if he was going to be dragged into the middle of a fight or if they were going to take him and try to kill him. But he prayed and asked for God's protection, and he went with Enan. And Enan walked him all the way out into a space where there was a line of warriors on one side and another line of warriors on the other side, like just facing each other. And John thought, this could be the end. This is it. I'm going to die right here with all these people in the middle of this island. And Enan said, "We have gathered the warriors together. These warriors behind me are for you, and they are with you, and they want peace. And the warriors over there do not want peace. They do not want to listen to you. They don't want to do any good. And so you give the word, and we will fight and shoot and kill all of them." Ah! Kind of a scary moment to be stuck in the middle of all of that. And John had a different answer. Now, it seemed like the easy answer would be like, yeah, get rid of the guys that are causing problems. But that wasn't the answer that God wanted John to give. John said, "No, I don't want that to happen, because I love all of you, and I care about you, and I don't want you to hurt each other. And I know that because I know that God loves me, and that he loved me so much that he sent his son, Jesus Christ, to die on the cross to pay the penalty for my sin. And that Jesus rose again 3 days later to prove he's more powerful than even death." And John got to talk, and the more he talked, the more the warriors listened, and they calmed down, and they didn't fight. Thankfully. Once again. And there was a little peace. But the warriors didn't change their ways. They didn't trust Jesus as their savior, and they didn't understand completely who God was and why they should love each other and care about their fellow warriors and islanders. And so the fighting started up again. And it got really dangerous. One day John was watching from the window in his house, and a tomahawk came flying through the window almost at his head, and he ducked just in the right amount of time. God is protecting him, looking out for him. Oh, I think there's a picture for that, but I'm a little ahead. Here, I'll show it to you. And only by God's grace that he ducked at just the right moment and it missed him. But the warriors and the people of the island, they were just constantly fighting. Well, because of all of the fighting, they even were after John's friend Enan. And the witch doctors got together and they said they were going to find a way to get rid of Enan. If they couldn't kill John, they were going to go after his friend. Well, Enan did get really sick, and John went to visit him, and he talked to him and tried to explain to him that he needed to do what was right and keep telling people to do what was right. And Enan got a little bit better, and then John heard that he was worse. And John feared that probably the witch doctors had poisoned him because they really knew their powers couldn't do anything. We learned that in the last lesson. So they probably just wanted to make something bad happen anyways. So John went back and he realized this time Enan really was going to die. Whatever they had given him, his body was too weak and it couldn't fight it off. But it was interesting, as John went to Enan's hut, all the people of the village just left. They disappeared into the jungle. I thought this was a little strange. But he went in and he was talking with Enan, and Enan said, "Come closer," and John leaned in a little bit, and out of the sheets, Enan pulled a knife and pointed it right at John's heart. John thought this was one of his friends. John realized, though, the whole village had left, so nobody would be around if something happened to John. Nobody would be to blame, and there wouldn't be anybody punished, and he would die, and Enan would die, and it would basically be all over. John sat there, and he prayed, and Enan put the knife down and said, "Go away." And a little bit later, he heard that Enan died. And John was sad because it was his friend. It was his way to connect with some of the people. But now with Enan dead, all the warriors were back to fighting. But God just kept protecting John time and time and time again. Well, one day the warriors were all coming after John's village, and so John and the villagers kept trying to move farther and farther into the jungle, and then they realized that wasn't safe because they could get surrounded, so they decided to move to closer to the sea. But the chief of John's village had hurt his knee in battle, and he couldn't run, and he couldn't go very far. At one point, he just turned over a canoe, and he sat down, and he told John, he said, "We're just going to have to pray. We're going to have to pray that God will protect us, that God will stop the warriors, and that he will keep us safe." That seems kind of scary to just sit there and just see all the warriors and watch everybody just come to you. But John prayed, and the chief prayed, and as John was praying, the chief said, "Look, your God is amazing." And John looked up, and the warriors, just one by one, were just disappearing back into the jungle. God had protected him again in a really cool and amazing way. But just like the other times, there would be peace, and then the people would be fighting, and there'd be peace, and they'd be fighting, and then they started fighting again. And this time the chief told John, "Go with my son into the jungle, and he will bring you to a very tall tree, and you should climb the tree so you can get up very high and far away from all the people." So John climbed really high in the tree, so he was way up above all the other ones, and he sat there and he waited. And the chief's son said, "I'll come back for you when it's safe for you to come down." So he waited, and he waited, and it got dark, and he heard gunshots, and he heard fighting and yelling, and he waited, and he waited, and you have to come back next week and find out how long he had to wait and what's going to happen next.
Sounds nice.
Nice, that sounds scary.
Yeah, it does sound,
I'm glad I don't
scary, actually.
live on an island where everybody's fighting me or chasing after me.
Okay, today we're going to tell you about another couple in the Philippines, some missionaries over there, and we are going to tell you just a little bit about their ministry, not all of it. We decided that we have several missionaries that our church supports, and so from time to time we want to update you on things they are doing without just looking at them once and then being done. So today we are going to look at Francisco and Susana Teodoro in the Philippines. They are also native Filipinos, just like Pastor Ariel Abadiano and his wife Ina last week. And they do have some children. The picture I put here is just them, so we'll look at the rest of their family another time. But today, I'm going to tell you about something that is going on right now in the Philippines. Every Saturday, they minister to these kids. And about a month ago, they sent us a message saying that 27 kids accepted Christ as their Savior on that day.
That's so cool.
That's pretty incredible. He said that this is the property that God gave to them. And he said, "Please pray. We are praying to build a Bible center here to use for Bible study and meals." And so here's another picture of him speaking to the kids. And here is a picture of all of them together.
Wow.
So what's really interesting is that even with the coronavirus still going on, they were able to get together and have this meeting. And it's really cool that they had so many kids get saved. Now, if you look carefully, you can see on that palm tree, that huge palm tree right in the middle, there's a piece of wood up there. That is a basketball hoop. In the Philippines, they love basketball. So everywhere you go, you can find a basketball hoop. And so they have one right there where they are meeting. The Teodoros minister at a church called Trinity Baptist Church. They've been there for 11 years, and the church on May 31st turned 7 years old.
Oh, cool.
And so now the church is working to build this center where they can teach the Bible and give meals to people on Saturday mornings. So here's that property once again from a different angle. And this is about 2 weeks ago when they started building. So you see here they have concrete blocks, and under that tent there's some wood and some iron, steel that they're going to use to lay foundations and build probably pillars to hold up the building. And here you see them starting to dig a hole. And right there's a better view, real close up. Here is a guy who is bending all those bars around to make a form for the concrete. And here's a picture of them all taking a break to eat their meal. So really short, but again, we'll tell you more about their ministry in another episode. But just wanted you to see what God is doing there, and especially the exciting part that they had so many kids saved there about a month and a half ago. And now they're building a place where they can continue to serve them, but also hopefully get more people and feed them meals and teach them about God in that place. So that is just one part of the Tiraderos ministry. They do a lot more, and their church is very involved in their community and reaching out to people, and we'll tell you more about that another time.
Cool.
But for now, continue to pray for them as they are right in the middle of building this building. A lot of concrete, and so it's going to be a lot of hard work, and it's hot there, but they are excited about it. They're going to get it done, so pray for safety for them and that everything will go fine, that they won't mess up anything and have to redo anything. And most importantly, that God would continue to use that center as a place for them to reach out and see more people come to know Christ and grow in the Lord.
Yeah.
So that is the Tiraderos. Thank you for joining us again today. If you have a place that's really beautiful that you've been to, you should comment below and let me know what that is, because I want to go there. I don't know when I can go there, especially right now since I can't travel, but someday I want to go there. So if you have a place, write it down so I know what it is.
Perfect. That'd be great. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you give us a like, share it with your friends. Hopefully you found our hidden item today. And if you did, let us know. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.